Monaco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12man.com/maroon contest. That's where you register. Then one winner and a guest will receive game tickets, hotel accommodations, autographed memorabilia, and more. You can register today at 12man.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. This is the Buzz Williams Show, and we are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station with head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Buzz Williams. And if you talk with Buzz, listen to Buzz, hear Buzz pregame or postgame, he always talks about the 100 minutes and a half, 200 minutes in a game. That's the 5 players playing the 20 minutes in a game. So quite the 400 minutes by Texas A&M this past week against Missouri and South Carolina. Coach, howdy, by the way.
Yeah, we played really well. 100 minutes in the first half, 100 minutes in the second half. Our heavy minute guys were able to play a little less. Guys that don't get to play as much were able to play. I thought we did a lot of really good things, and I thought it started from the very beginning. I thought that how we started the game, there was not a drop-off, and I thought that we showed maturity in regards to even how we started the second half and not having a let-up on either end. So there were a lot of positive things that happened in Columbia.
Is it a good thing, Buzz, that the lesson of Wednesday was learned on Saturday in that you had the big lead against Missouri? They came back. You had the fortitude as well to go right back up into double digits and go back up by 20 again. But that it was so quick and the lesson was learned by this team?
Well, that's the one thing that we always talk to the team about. I don't think it's like going to school where if you bomb the first test, you just move on to the second test and try to overcome it with whatever remains on the syllabus. I think basketball is similar to life. I think you continue to get the same lesson. It may be packaged a little different, but in regards to the value, it's the same. And that was one thing that we talked about on Thursday after Wednesday's game was in the second half, you could almost pick a category. Obviously, the turnovers were a big problem. But when we turn the ball over, it's a missed chance for us to get an offensive rebound, which we've been doing well. A missed chance for us to have an opportunity to get to the free throw line, which as of today we're number 1 in the country in free throw makes and free throw attempts. So there's negative residual value when we don't turn it over. But when you turn it over against a team that's as fast as Missouri was, now all of a sudden you're giving them the pace that they want to play. And stereotypically speaking, in that segment of that game, we were giving them a lot of layups because they were live ball turnovers. Live ball turnovers against a team that's as fast as they are, those are debilitating. And so we talked about it on Thursday, and then as I mentioned to you in postgame, I even wrote it on the game charts to talk to our team about the first half numbers, the things that we feel are important relative to the opponent, and then the second half number, and that's what I wrote. First half, question mark, second half, question mark. And so at halftime, obviously we had the data for the first half numbers, and then I said, okay, and here's the same test that we had Wednesday night in College Station. Yes, it's a different locale. Yes, it's a different opponent, but the test is for us. And so we need to pass the test so we can move on to the next thing. Not that it won't arise again, but do we have the maturity to learn from the lesson, pass the test, and then never lose sight of the lesson, but move on to whatever is next that we know is in store for us to learn?
In fairness, Buzz, it seems like the game does not start for this team at 5 or 6, but at shoot-around is when the day seems to begin. That energy seems to carry over.
Yeah, we had a bad practice today. We just finished. It's one of the first bad ones we've had in a long time. I don't think that we are winning exclusively because of our talent. I think we win because of our talent, but we also win because of our energy. We win because of the togetherness that we play with. We win because of how hard we play for one another. We win because of the ability of our coaching staff to have game adjustments per game relative to what gives us a chance to have success in that particular game. So I think that there's all coaches would say this. It's not just what transpires on game days. today's efforts turn into tomorrow's success. And so it's an ongoing thing. It's a cumulative thing. And I think that our success has been a lagging indicator since Christmas. I think we've done a good job of whatever all of the coach cliches are, 1-0, stacking days, all of that stuff is right. I'm not making light of it. But you can't just show up in this league 2 days a week and think that it's enough. You have to earn the right to win on Wednesday. You have to earn that right on Monday. You have to earn that right on Tuesday. So that with each passing rep of the game plan, you install it, so to say. If you're talking about Wednesday, you install it on Monday, you practice it on Monday, and then you get your second rep on Tuesday in the film room and in practice, and then your third rep is on shoot-around. And we're not in a position, nor are any good teams that are playing for something bigger. You can't give away a rep, regardless of when it occurs.
He's Buzz Williams. We're off and running on the Buzz Williams Show. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. All Hands Craft Cocktails is a new bar-strength canned cocktail made with 6 times distilled vodka and 10% ABV to make sure you never have to sacrifice the quality of your drink. All Hands Craft Cocktails, founded by Aggies and a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Unfortunately, Kevin Menchow could not be with us. He's normally our engineer on the Buzz Williams Show, as well as Jimbo's show and the Aggie Baseball Hour. But we have the lovely and uber-talented Jeanette Menchow is with us. And I don't know if you were at Reed Arena on Wednesday, but there was Kevin dressed in all black, and he's engineering for Missouri, and he's rooting on those Tigers, and I'm
That's
bummed.
why he's not here now.
I think that's exactly why he's not here. Yeah. He did not want to face the
You're welcome here anytime.
Yeah,
Bob.
That's exactly right.
We've got enough problems. We don't need insider problems. So he can stay out, and you're welcome.
Now the rest of the story. As that game's going on and he's engineering for Missouri because Missouri loses their engineer and he's working for them. That's their problem, right? But he's texting me during the game going, that's a great play. When A&M's got a great play, that's a great play. So he's rooting for A&M, but he's getting that paycheck from Missouri. So
he's got to pay his light bills too.
Yes, he does. But I couldn't hold that in for another 2 weeks because we're not back with you until February. But he is watching and he is listening. Buzz, my partner John Thornton, used this phrase after South Carolina that the Aggies played with methodical toughness. There is a toughness to this Aggie team, isn't there?
Well, it's starting to get there. I don't think that there was consistency in our toughness in non-conference, and I think that's why we've dug the hole that we have. But it also speaks to the character of our group that they realize that. And I think that they've been accountable for that since Christmas. We've still got a long way to go. I don't know that we're in contention, but we're getting closer to being in a position to be in a position. We've done good for 2 weeks, and we're starting week 3 now. But considering what transpired in non-conference, we've still got a long way to go. And there's just such a thin margin in this league. I think with each passing with each passing year, the league has continued to become more and more difficult. And, you know, a lot of times you talk about the top of any league, and I think Tennessee's 2 in the numbers that matter. Alabama is 3 in the numbers that matter. But a lot of times the reason why it's hard to progress is the bottom of the league is rising. And so in a league that's as good as this one, there's really not much room above it, so to say. And so you start having a bunch of teams that migrate towards the mean almost relative to the league. And so the separation gets even more difficult. And like I mentioned to the team Saturday before the game, with each passing week, there's more and more separation. And it's not necessarily what Twitter thinks or what the preseason people thought or even what you were voted and all of that stuff. Like, those numbers don't really matter relative to what's going to transpire over the next 7 weeks. And so I do think that there has been more revealing toughness in our spirit, more revealing toughness in plays that are hard to make, that tough teams make. And I do think that we had maturity in regards to just over and over and over, we didn't get bored doing the things that it takes to win.
Does that maturity lead to a team's confidence?
Well, I think anytime you win, it helps.
The right way, though, right?
Yeah, I think players know when they're going about their work in a way that they practice. And I think that when you have good people that understand the why, that helps. And I think our guys understand why we play the way that we play. Our staff's done a great job in teaching the why before the how or the what. And so I think they have a very good understanding, and not only do they understand it, but they're beginning to execute it at a rate that's required in order to have success.
So for fans, when they watch, whether it's maybe after a timeout or when they see the bench all signaling the same thing to the five on the floor, they all have the why. And they all, by saying that same thing, they're all on that same page. They've learned what they've needed to learn in preparation for that game, or really in preparation of that moment.
Yeah, I think the language of the group has improved. You know, I think that there's more than 4 or 5 people within the organization that know at that moment in time, whatever it is, whether it's specific to the opponent or whether it's specific to us. Again, I think we've done a good job of streamlining our language, but also streamlining our plan relative to the game so that there isn't any confusion. Our practice itinerary has become very consistent, and a lot of the things that require consistency can only come when you're not having to coach toughness and effort every day. If you're having to coach toughness and effort every day, the game plan and some of these other categories that we're talking about, it's not as important because you're spending all of your energy and emotion trying to get them to play hard and to play together. And I think over the last couple of weeks, we've been able to concentrate on some things that real teams concentrate on because it's a prerequisite that you play really hard. It's a prerequisite that you play for one another. It's a prerequisite that you have a presence on the glass, that you play with a low turnover rate. And so you're able to kind of go to the next layer of teaching, the next layer of coaching that are possession changers, that are we can save a possession here, we can buy a possession here. But if you're having to coach effort and toughness every day, then you're not ever going to get to these things. And so we've got to continue to make that the priority. That's the biggest rock in our program, that we play hard and that we play together. I think the next thing is, can you play with a high IQ? And I think we're improving in that regard. So I think we're going in the right direction. We've got to find the ability to, you know, it's like talent, and everybody refers to it as talent, whatever talent you define it as, but endurance is also a talent. Do you have the ability to endure mentally, the ability to endure emotionally, the ability to endure mentally? Like, I can do this again and again and again, and that's always the sign of a good team, that they can do it day after day, that they can do it possession after possession. I don't think that we're there yet, but I think that we have a vision on how to get there, and I think we're getting closer. Specifically, the players are getting closer at being able to hold one another accountable. They know when, that wasn't a good rep. We need to improve this rep. And then if the guys are responding to one another, now all of a sudden you have more of a player-led team than a coach-led team. And that means that you're going in the right direction.
Buzz Williams and the Aggies will take on Florida on Wednesday at Reed Arena. That's at 6 o'clock. 5:30 is our Dos Equis tip-off show. And then a trip to Rupp Arena to take on Kentucky Saturday at 1. That's the week ahead. We have more of the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy's. Stay with us. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Not everyone is a morning person yet, but with Costa Vita's new breakfast tacos, everyone will be. Try our bacon, egg, and cheese, or specialties like the machaca beef and egg, or sweet pork, egg, and cheese. You can stop by our drive-thru any day from 7 to 10:30 a.m. Order online through the Costa Vita app or the website Become a Morning Person at Costa Vita. That is our friend Holly Wyatt Johnston there, who gave me her number. I will be passing that along. And She reminded me she catered your coach's clinic in the fall, so she's all thrilled about all of this.
Awesome.
Yeah, and she's listening as
Thank
well.
You for
listening.
Says
hello. Absolutely.
Thanks for the clinic catering. That's not one of the things that I do, but I appreciate it being arranged as such.
Buzz, this team off to the 4-0 start in conference, and you never know when you bring in a player from another program. You can see how they develop through non-conference and then in conference. And conference, as you say, becomes different. Everything is more valuable in conference. But does it speak to the experience of the number of games and the types of games that a Dexter Dennis has played in, that he looks like he belongs in the SEC? The same thing with Julius Marble. Does that experience pay off this time of year?
Yeah, without question. I think that's why part of it is the COVID rule. Teams are older in 2022, 2023 season than at any point in the history of college basketball. Obviously, that's because of a worldwide pandemic. And as each passing year transpires, that number will decreasingly go back to some level of normal. Even though the transfer portal will stay into effect, there's more populated players with experience than ever before because of that rule. I think that the impact that Dexter has had specifically in conference has been hard to describe. I mean, I think he's top 10 in the league in rebounding. He's guarding the best player. He does so many things that don't show up in the scoreboard. And then obviously over the last 3 games, he's been able to finish at the rim and make really good room and rhythm threes. And then I think that Ju's start, and it's continued, started at Florida.
Yeah.
I just think that he's playing with a lot of confidence with the ball in his hand. We still need him to have more of a presence on the glass. And through the first 3 games, he did. He did not get a rebound at South Carolina. I know he played lesser minutes than normal, but their age, their experience, obviously Dexter, you can't have more experience than Dexter brought to our team. And I think that he brings a mentality to our team that has positively impacted us, especially defensively, because he's so competitive and he has an innate feel because of its instincts on the defensive end. And I think he has, both of them have for that matter, I think they've begun to feel more comfortable in what we're doing offensively. But I also think that it's just the reps. It's not only the game reps, but it's the practice reps where they feel more and more comfortable with what we're doing on both sides of the ball. But Henry, Four, and Boots are returners that played significant minutes last year that we need to be consistent every night. And we did not have that early on. And then we're trying to figure out who Dexter is going to become. We're trying to figure out who Ju is going to become. And so it was the combination of new guys with experience and returning guys with experience, and collectively not having the rhythm and the routine and the consistency that you want from all of them. When we have all of that, and in some respects, I think we have had that in the first 2 weeks, you can see the difference in our team. I think the thing, and I've said this publicly, that's my fault more than anybody else's. This is going to be an ongoing dilemma as a coach. You're going to sign, regardless of what the roster says, you're going to sign multiple guys every year. And you're not going to sign exclusively portal guys, in my opinion. And you're not going to sign exclusively high school guys. So how can you expedite the process of figuring out how to help everybody on your team be the best they can be as soon as they can be it, so you can figure out what the identity of your team is going to be, so that you don't have the inconsistency that we had for too long of a stretch. I don't know the answer. I have a lot of different thoughts, and obviously there were a lot of lessons presented to us from November to before Christmas. I think we've adapted and adjusted to some of the answers to those lessons, but I don't think that now is not the time to appropriately diagnose all of it like we're doing an audit. But we're going to have to do an audit in the spring and in the summer, because you just put yourself in such a negative position that you're fighting so early in conference play just to get back to ground zero. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I do think that over the last 2 weeks, those two guys and what they've brought, along with the consistency. Like, I thought Henry was as good as Henry's been in, I don't know how many minutes he ended up playing, 24 minutes. Like, he was as good as he has ever been here at South Carolina. And four, I think, had maybe one casual turnover, but he was arguably as good as he's been. And I didn't think Boots was great against South Carolina, but in the last week, the previous two games, he was as good as he's been. Yeah, so now all of a sudden you have multiple guys. H makes a shot for the first time since before conference, since before Christmas against Missouri. And it's almost like the dam broke. You know, I don't think he missed a shot.
Right.
Dre made a shot for the first time since before Christmas. Like, now all of a sudden you have multiple guys that are hitting their ceiling, wondering maybe that's not the ceiling. Maybe there's more. You know, like, I would have never thought that Dexter Dennis in an SEC game would get 11 defensive rebounds, 7 of them off missed threes when he's guarding a perimeter player. So that experience for sure helps, but it's a cumulative effort of all of those guys being much better.
The Buzz Williams Show will continue from Rudy's. When we come back, I'm going to ask Coach about Tyrese Boots Radford. That's when we return to Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station for the Buzz Williams Show, and this is Aggie basketball from Learfield. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. As you know, we go behind the mic. You can watch our show and listen as well. And Daryl Winkleman has checked in and said, took advantage of the Northwestern State game to bring the entire family, made 4 new fans. Thanks for having those opportunities.
Thank you.
It was great to see the start of a nice run.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the game. We appreciate it.
Isn't that fun, Buzz, to be able – I think there's something there about fans and connections, and you can see a lot of things on TV, and I love the opportunities, but there's something about a connection. And with your team, Buzz, I have to say this, that it doesn't have to be a student. It could be a fan, could be a youngster. They are right there, autographs, shaking their hands, high fives, gig them, something like that. You can't fake that type of connection, and your team has that.
I think I feel the same, just evaluating any sort of game. You know, like, hey, here's tape on a recruit. I'm not watching tape on a recruit. I just give it to one of the coaches. Like, I need to feel it. I need to see their body language. I need to sense their spirit. I need to see what the camera doesn't show. I want to understand the environment. And it's even the same, like, when I watch tape. Like, I think I have a staff that has decades and decades of experience, you know, so I always ask them, what did you see? You know, what is this and what is that? And obviously it's all coming off tape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I didn't see that. Let me write that down. And they're like, what do you mean you didn't see it? And I'm like, I guess I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because I like to watch it, and that's all I do, but there's something about being present. You know, like, you can live scout when you're playing in a tournament. Well, for most of my career, I'm the only head coach that's ever in the gym watching a live scout, but it's because I learn better. You know, it's like when COVID hit and my kids were watching all of that stuff on what I guess is now called Zoom. I don't know what it was called early on.
Yeah.
I was telling Corey, I was like, I know that there's not a choice, but whatever they're supposed to be learning, as good as our kids are, they're not learning it. And she's like, what do you mean? You're just watching it. I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, then I should say, maybe they are. I'm not. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't learn like that. You know, hey, let's take this class online. No, I'm not taking a class online. I need to see the teacher. I need to shake their hand. I need to hear their tone of voice. I just learn better. And I think you don't have to come to our games. Thanks, Daryl, for coming. But I do think when you physically watch our team play and all that comes with it, I think you have a different appreciation for how we operate. And that doesn't mean that we're the best. I'm not saying any of it egotistically. I just think it's a different experience because all of your senses are involved, as opposed to listening. You know, those people that call for the SEC network, I know maybe someday I'll be doing that because I can't get a job coaching, but I'm like, you guys just show up and you ask me some of the most illogical questions. And I know I'm the coach and I'm supposed to act nice, but I'm like, what have you guys been doing? Like, you listened to the radio show because I said Rock was the free throw coach.
Yeah.
So everybody texts Rock about being the free throw coach. But I'm like, that's your prep? Like, that's what you did? And then you show up for shoot around and you don't know anything. And so you want me to give you all the answers. And because I don't want to be a jerk, I try to act like I'm giving you the answers, but I'm not giving you anything because I can tell by the questions you're asking, you've done no work, so I don't want to reward you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think when you go to a game without somebody telling you what's happening on the TV, you're able to process it however you want, relative to whatever your opinion is.
If you go watch the bench, watch Buzz go get Dex's sneaker.
Yeah.
Right. But watch that joy.
That was just because we have an official that didn't even know it happened, and I was trying to find the sneaker.
Yeah. Yeah. But what is it with our sneaks, by the way? Wade's came off. It was one of the few.
We had several in South Carolina. It led to booing.
They were booing.
I'm like, guys, they're tying their shoes. They're putting a double knot in their shoes. Why are you booing a kid who lost his shoe for running fast?
Yeah. And poor KK.
He double knotted his.
Yeah, but he looked like a baby foal, didn't he, when he tried to still make the play? And
that is a problem. Maybe we need to talk to J-Mo about some more shoes.
John?
It was a shoe problem against Missouri, and then multiple shoe problems in Columbia.
It was. Dex was trying, and then he just flung it. Right?
Yeah.
He's not played in the sock now. No, absolutely not. We have questions for you, and we return to the Buzz Williams Show. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Basketball and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood, and Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. This is the Buzz Williams Show. We are at Rudy's, and it's question time.
Cowboys are up 6-0.
Cowboys, yeah, so we go till top of the hour, and then everybody gets to watch the Cowboys. Steve wants to know who has the most improvement from the start of the season to now?
I would say it's probably Jew or Dex, just because upon arrival we have an idea of who they are, but we don't completely know. We knew that we needed them to be good. Mm-hmm. We knew that we recruited them to have an impact right away. We always start, we don't call it practice per se, but for the most part, the month of September, we're just trying to figure out who we are and the habits that we want to build. There's not a lot of coaching per se going on. And then we have our first practice, what anybody would call practice. We take a yellow school bus, we go out in some remote area and practice at a local middle school or high school and stay in cabins, preferably without Wi-Fi, and kind of go about it in a very organic way. And so we practice 5 times that weekend, and we call that weekend training camp. And I'm pretty sure it's always based on our football schedule, but I'm pretty sure that this year training camp was the last weekend in September. So I would say from the last weekend in September through now, I think today was our 55th or 56th practice. I would say the most improvement has come from those two guys, not because they couldn't play. I don't mean it like that, but it's because now they know how we want to play on both sides of the floor. So that would be who I would say.
Ian could not be here.
I noticed that earlier.
But we have a question.
Okay, thanks, Ian.
Thank you, Walt, for delivering that. What's the most enjoyable part of the coaching process?
I think it's the relationships. I think that's I enjoy the strategy. I enjoy the trying to figure out how to win a game, but I don't enjoy it more than the people. I think it's building relationships. Obviously, it's ongoing, but I hope that how we go about building relationships within our program, that they're lifelong. And I'm just now old enough to have a lot of former players that are entering the end of their career as professionals or have already started their next career. And I think that my most enjoyable part is the relationships. The pace of it goes really fast, but the people are what will endure, and that'll be whether I'm coaching or whether they're playing. The relationships that we formed as coaches and players is obviously much deeper than that. So that's always been the most enjoyable thing for me.
You will always be coach to them. Do you also like when you become Buzz to them? Is that a different level?
I've never, for whatever reason, just because of my nickname, I've never made anybody call me coach. I don't make our staff call me coach. I've never, for whatever reason, I've never gotten into that. Now, I always refer to coaches as coaches, regardless of whether I know them or not, because that's just how my parents raised me. I think it's to be respectful, not just to coach, but anyone of authority. You should not call them by their first name. But that's, I grew up in a country town and raised by old school values and ways. So I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that that's right. But whether they call me coach, whether they call me Buzz, none of that has ever mattered to me, even when I was young. And now that I'm older, it doesn't matter. I want them to feel comfortable in who they are and be comfortable in the relationship that we have and understand that the relationship is built on true love, and true love doesn't have an agenda. I hope that they score 1 million points, but my responsibility is to try to help them grow on and off the floor, whether they score every point or they never play.
And you want them that relationship grows. They're not the player that you had just at New Orleans or just at Marquette or Virginia Tech or even early Texas A&M. You love to see the process of them growing as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, that's I'm starting to really enjoy that. I'm starting to really enjoy that even with my own children. You know, now it's kind of the first time in my coaching career. This is the 29th year I've been a college coach and my 16th year as a head coach, but it's really the first time in my career that I'm coaching players that are the age of my oldest children. So it's kind of that delicate line that it's the first time that I'm doing a home visit and the parents are in essence my age or a little younger. Throughout my whole career, the parents have always been older than me, but now I'm kind of at the threshold where I'm 50 now, and so depending upon was it their youngest child or their first child, I may be a couple of years older than them, or we may be in the same area of age range, so to say. But yeah, I think that it's just part of the evolution of a person. You know, I don't, maybe it's part of my career as well, but it's just spanned getting close to 3 decades now. So yes, there's longevity in the tenure of being a coach, and so the kids stay the same in regards to their age. But it's kind of the first time that, like, Sissy drove down from James Madison. Well, Sissy's the same age as most of the players on our team. Bubba's in his 2nd year of college. He's the same age as most on the team. And, you know, like Mason's a junior. And so baby's even hip to Mason graduates in 2024. So when I go recruiting, just because she's a coach's kid. She's like, is the kid you're going to see a 2023 or 2024? In other words, is he currently a high school senior, or is he in Mason's class? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When that's probably a little overboard, but I think that's probably just being a coach's kid.
Absolutely. We have one more segment of the Buzz Williams Show. Come on back to Rudy's. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Texas A&M Athletics has launched the free 12th Man Rewards program that thanks fans 13 and older for standing with the 12th man to create a home field advantage for our student athletes and coaches. Download or log in to the 12th Man mobile app or create your 12th Man Rewards profile today. Attend events, get points, redeem rewards. For details, visit 12thmanrewards.com. Final segment of the Buzz Williams Show here at Rudy's. Florida at 6 o'clock. Aggies opened up SEC play against Florida. Here you are 2 weeks later playing the same team, one of the mirror opponents for this. What are the challenges playing a team that you just played 2 weeks ago, Buzz?
Well, it's happening really fast would be the first thing I would say. Normally, with mirror opponents, there's a little bit more of a gap than 3 games.
Yeah.
So since we beat them, they've won all 3 games. They beat Georgia. They won at LSU, and then they beat Missouri on Saturday. So what our staff has done, I guess it would be Sunday and today, is diagnose our game, of course, and what our initial plan was, and then study specifically what they have done the last 3 games. They've had a player leave their team. They've completely changed, probably of the 200 minutes in a game, I would say 40 to 50 minutes have been redistributed, which is significant.
Yeah.
And they, because of that redistribution relative to their roster, they're playing a little different. They're averaging 16 more points than when we played them. They're averaging 5 more assists. They're shooting 3 more threes, so they're shooting 23 threes a game. They're making 3 more threes a game, which is significant, and they're shooting 5 more free throws. So there's a little bit of change there's a significant change in their personnel, but then there has been a change within some of the things that they do. But it still all revolves around 12 in the half court. They're playing a little faster, which is aiding their personnel in regards to their guards and their perimeter players, and they're playing with more perimeter players on the floor. So we've tried to appropriately diagnose what's transpired in the 3 games that they've played, and then what changes we need to make due to those changes. What's our counter going to be? But normally there's a little bit more evidence, or so to say, I think LSU is a mirror opponent, if I'm not mistaken. I think Missouri is a mirror opponent.
Yes.
Arkansas, who we've yet to play. Florida. So that means there's one more.
There has to be. You're going to make me get the notes out, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Auburn is what these guys are.
Sure, I'm going with Auburn. If I'm wrong.
So I'm not sure.
You can't get me till February.
I don't know when we play Auburn. I know it doesn't sound right.
Next Wednesday.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we go to Kentucky Saturday, then Auburn on next Wednesday.
I always look at the week in advance.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you remember that, who was the famed announcer on Saturday mornings at 11? You can watch This Week in Baseball. What was that guy's name?
Mel Allen.
Yeah, and he would always just talk about This Week in Baseball. I just do This Week in Texas A&M basketball. I don't even know. I honestly,
really
my kids say, well, who are we playing? You have to look it up on your phone. I don't know who we're playing. We play Florida, and we play at Kentucky. I honestly didn't know we played Auburn next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we play back-to-back road games for the first time.
For the first time, right.
That'll be a test going into week 4.
Yeah, certainly will.
Rock's in charge of back-to-back road games.
Is he?
And free throws. So all of the media who only listen to this, you can text Rock. Right, Rock? Rock's in charge of free throws. Rock's in charge of pad work.
I think he's just
Rock's in charge of personnel, and now he's in charge of motivation on back-to-back road games.
They've been shooting it pretty well from the free throw line now.
He says that according to a lot of his texts, from the ill-informed part-time media that listen to this show that they're wondering if he's getting a raise. And I'm like, a raise for what? He said, you said I was the free throw coach. And I was like, okay, well, I'll talk to Ross about it.
Okay. That's what he's got to do between now and Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, not between now and Wednesday. We play on Wednesday. So whenever we have a bye date, I'm going to talk to Ross. Okay. Does the SEC have a bye date?
No. Oh. You did that on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the only time you've never had one.
I'll give Rock all my money. That's my boy.
That sounds perfect. Buzz, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
As always.
Thank you.
Same to you. He is Buzz Williams, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. And we will join you 5:30 on Wednesday, courtside, Reed Arena, Dr. Thornton and I. The Aggies take on the Florida Gators, and they've got the reigning SEC Player of the Week in Colin Castleton after Julius Marble was SEC Player of the Week last week for the Fighting Texas Aggies. 5:30 Dos Equis tip-off show. The Aggies tip off against the Florida Gators at 6. Alex Seaton has been the producer of the Buzz Williams Show this evening, and Jeanette Menchow has been the engineer here at Rudy's 504 Harvey Road. For head coach Buzz Williams, I'm Andrew Monaco. We thank you so much for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield.